Welcome, everyone, to day 3 of Master Your Inner Senses, Master Your Intuition. We are today going to have a little bit more fun. Today's class is all about intuition meets magic. So, we are here to play some games today. I was teasing you a little bit if you watched the replay yesterday that we're going to do a little bit like some vibrational decisions game. We're going to really go through some guided meditations. We're going to do all kinds of fun stuff. So it won't be as quite a longer as long of a class as the last couple of nights. So it'll be short and sweet, and we'll finish up with some Reiki at the end. So yeah, it's going to be a nice little container for us to spend a little time together. Um, and yeah, so I'll begin by just introducing you to myself, in case this is the first class that you've begun watching. So I'm Caroline Rudderman, and I'm a Reiki master teacher. I really teach Reiki as well as intuition to highly sensitive people. And I one of the things that this has been so impactful for me as I've been teaching for the last 15 years doing this work, the intuition stuff came a little bit, like really properly teaching the intuition came a little bit later. But the 15 years that I've been teaching Reiki, one of the things that it's really offered for me has been a space to continually come home to myself and continue to calm my nervous system down, have a practical way of taking care of myself and my mind and my emotions. And that is one of the gifts that as I continue to learn all sorts of different techniques for healing, it's Reiki that just keeps coming back to me like a warm hug and just keeps offering just more benefits and more solutions and more clarity in my life. And yeah, Reiki just always feels like home to me. So that's what I like to teach people about, how you can find ways to keep coming home to you, because my way is not your way and your way is not somebody else's way, like it's not this cookie cutter style of learning that maybe we grew up with. Especially if you're a highly sensitive person like myself and you're very empathic. It takes a little while to learn how to trust yourself and be with your own rhythms, but when we do that, ooh, some good stuff starts happening. And that's when really all kinds of beauty unfolds, when we start prioritizing ourselves and when we start saying, I'm worth it and I'm willing to take these big leaps. And that's a lot of what we kind of covered in the first two classes. And I'll recap those in a minute, but I just kind of want to share a little bit about how I came to Reiki. I talked about this in the first class as well, but one of the things that I was really dealing with when I first started finding Reiki is that I had so much overwhelming anxiety, and I was at a job that I was there because it was a full-time job. It paid the bills. I didn't have a car. I lived in a small town. I could walk to work, right? There was like some very practical aspects of, wow, this is convenient and like, don't let go of this thing. And it was a really miserable workplace, and I was suffering on all levels there. It was just a very, very challenging work environment, and I was just managing the best way I knew how, which was kind of a lot of partying and a lot of caffeine and a lot of beer. And yeah, it wasn't feeling good on my system anymore. And there was just something inside of me. One night I was scrolling through my phone just to see who I hadn't, been in touch with in a long time. And my first Reiki teacher's name kind of jumped out at me. And I'd never heard of Reiki before other than a 15-minute discussion from, like, it was a panel discussion with my first teacher. And I had just put her name in my phone. I liked her vibe. And it just literally, like, her number just jumped out at me that night. I looked her up online. My little heart went pitter patter. There was just something in a very physical way that said, like, do this, like, sign up for this. I just felt so excited at a time where, like, nothing was really exciting and everything felt really heavy. And, I was just moving through the mud at that time. And after the first Reiki class, I mean, it was kind of an intense weekend, right? And I just remember after that first weekend, I just felt like my head completely cooled off. It was like somebody had extinguished a match. And I was just like, oh, wow, like this thing has been on fire for a long time. I didn't even realize how much stress I had begun accumulating in my body until I was actually calm. And I kind of during that first session, I almost like felt a little nauseous. I was a little bit like, whoa, I don't feel great. Like there was a lot of big releases when I first came to that. There was a lot that I was holding on to, and there was a lot that I was very happy to let go of. And from there on, everything changed so rapidly. I came back to work that Monday morning and just, the same old patterns continued with my boss and the work environment. And I just found myself kind of unexpectedly quitting. Like no plan. It just flew out of my mouth. And things worked out so that I ended up having a partial paycheck coming in for a few months after that. And just everything just kind of lined up. Everything just lined up, and it took a while to build a business. But right from that time, that was basically when I actually started practicing Reiki, professionally practicing Reiki. And like I said, it took a little while to kind of build things up and to build up my self-love and self-worth, right? Because these are anytime that we lean into moving from the heart, making decisions from the heart, it is going to bring up our fears. It is going to ask us to move through the fire of our own ego, through our own patterns of initiation into stepping into like what feels true for us. And that I want to say was probably the first and biggest time that I made a big jump like that. Maybe yeah, I want to say it was like the previous time I had done it, I kind of fell on my face and then, kind of like crawled away and, licked my wounds. It didn't feel successful, but this was the time that I really, I put my all into it, put my all into it. So I just want to share with you that, all of these things, these big things about like moving from the heart, I have lived them. I move through my fear all the time. And it's uncomfortable and it's terrifying. And what comes on the other side is bigger than you can imagine. It is more joyful. It is lighter. There is freedom on all levels. So I just want to say that I really recognize that it's not easy, but it is so worth it. So that's why I teach these techniques because I've lived them, I've experienced them, and I know how powerful they are. And the Reiki and my inner senses has been my guiding force the whole way. Right? Like that's what my mentorship is all about. It's like the Reiki and intuition mentorship. Guide your own ship with Reiki. It's like you can use the winds to sail into the storm or around it. Like, but you still get to chart your course. Okay. All right, so we're going to do a little recap of day one, a little recap of day two. We're not going to get into it too heavily because the replays are available for you. And then we'll kind of dive into some of our intuition meets magic, day three, some of our more playful games today. Does that sound good? Okay. So day one, we were really talking about what the inner senses are, right? We learn as a child what our physical senses are, right? It's like sight, hearing, touch, smell, taste. But what they don't teach you about when you're a child in elementary school is that, like, when you think about somebody and the phone rings, right? Like, when you just have that clear knowing that you're connected to that person, and you're like, you pick up the phone and you're like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you. Like, in grade school, they don't teach us about our inner senses and our inner awareness, right? Of like when somebody's staring at you from across the street and you're like, you're just in your own vibe and then you just turn and make direct eye contact. We have our inner senses that are guiding us all the time, that are bringing us into awareness of our surroundings, that are saying, hey, like, down that way, there's something fun down that way. Like, ooh, look over there. And then you're like, ooh, I just found a $20 bill on the ground. Like, just because sometimes we listen to our inner guidance, all kinds of little stuff happens. So the inner senses are similar to our five senses of the body, are the clairaudience, right? Being able to clear hearing. And you might experience that through, um, like hearing an external voice. Or for me, I have clairaudience, but it almost sounds like, oh, there's like the information is translating as thoughts. But it's not, they're not thoughts that are telling me to harm myself. They're usually cheering me on. My own thoughts are usually the one that's like, shut up, Caroline. Like my own thoughts are usually the ones that are a little less pleasant than the ones that are coming from my external guidance or from my true nature, because they feel so much more loving. They also use vocabulary words that I don't have at the top of my head, and sometimes I have to look them up. Sometimes the pacing of the thought forms that are coming in are a little different than how I think. I tend to be a very quick thinker, and they tend to be a little bit slower. They tend to have a different rhythm to them. So there's clairaudience, and sometimes music comes in. Sometimes my spirit guides, will wake up in the morning and they'll pop a little song in my head, and it's like the lyrics are just very like appropriate for what I'm moving through. So we have clairaudience, we have clairvoyance, right? Which is not necessarily, it's just clear seeing, but doesn't necessarily mean that you're seeing into the future. It can, but often it means that you're seeing an image either inside your mind or in the almost superimposed on the external reality. Sometimes that can come through dream work as well, sometimes the imagery, but it's a little bit more visual. Sometimes it's colors, all of that kind of stuff, but it's usually through imagery. It's clairvoyance. There's clairsentience, which is I don't know how I know, I just know. It's just information just bloop, pops in. So that's one that often has a hard time with people who are very, very logical. They tend to ignore that one because it doesn't come with any tangible information. Like it's just instant connection to a thing or an event or just a piece of information. Clear awareness, clear sentience. There's also a very kinesthetic way of feeling our inner senses, um, which is almost just a warmth moving through the body or chills up the spine. Migraines can be a way of the body saying, no, 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 do not, do not. Or the stomach aches, right? Clenching of the belly. So there's a very sensational way of having the body communicate a yes or a no. Or if somebody is watching you, sometimes you might get the tingles at the back of the neck. Okay, so the kinesthetic awareness. If you've ever received Reiki or different types of body work, you might feel like, oh, I just feel so like melty and gooey. Like you might also just be a little marshmallowy. Like that's a signal that that might be part of your kinesthetic awareness of how you are receiving information either from your soul or from the external realities. And then there's the empath way, right? Which is the way of being very attuned to other people's thought forms and emotions. So that is usually born out of survival, out of a place where you kind of had to be very aware of a caregiver or parent's erratic moods or explosive behaviors, or there was a lot of safety issues in the home for the child, for you. So it's kind of they're sharp, it's sharpened of being hyper aware of other people's emotional states. All of these, I just want to remind you, they are a gift and they are also a skill. Sometimes you might be like, I don't know how my migraines are a gift. Bear with me. But some of these ways of our internal senses of interpreting information from the world around us and from our true nature, our soul, our spirit, whatever words feel appropriate for you, that thing, that animating force inside of us. But there's an aspect of this being an innate ability, right? Like I didn't necessarily start out being super visual, but it sort of developed, right? It developed as a skill would develop, right? Not everybody is born with like big old biceps, but some people have a natural strength, right? Like some people just have the gift of like being having a strong body. And some people have to do a lot of push-ups and lift some weights and do their cardio to have a strong body, but both are achievable. So I just want to remind you that just because you have one doesn't mean you can't have them all. Or just because you feel like you rely heavily on one doesn't mean that the others uh, are going to be neglected or whatever. All of them can be, we all have our sort of baseline superpowers. Like some people are really good at math, but other people can become good at math. Part of the reason as a teacher that I'm really good at teaching these is because they were all developed like skills for me. I worked really, really hard in my meditation practices. I shouldn't say worked hard because it was always a pleasure for me to delve into this. It was always a curiosity. It was always an exploration. Um, but a lot of these skills, it was really fun for me to like practice my psychic hearing. It was really fun for me to like lean into automatic writing. As I was offering sessions for other people, these skills slowly started revealing themselves, and I was like, "Oh, it is really fun to be a medium and to have communications between this person's loved one and the person who's laying on the table." There was a lot of joy as I started sharpening, these different talents, these different listening skills. So the reason that we really have these skills is that they help us move towards what feels good, what can help us make happy choices, and what can feel a little bit more like struggle, right? They really are our navigational senses for us. What's a yes and what's a no? We often try to make a lot of decisions based on our minds and based on logic and what we perceive as safe or what we perceive as possible. But that's a lot of what we kind of discuss on day one, like how do these, what are these functions, how do they function, and like why are they useful? Okay. And day two, I just look at back at my notes. I'm like, what did we cover in day two? Day two, we really started talking about these kind of bigger practices of when we start living from the heart, when we start getting out of our head and start feeling our way with our intuitive senses in a different way, right? Like we start leading from this little bit more of a vibrational reality of like, ooh, this feels like a yes. Ooh, this feels like a no. This person hanging out with this person feels divine, and spending time with this person feels a little bit like an energy drain. That's a yes and that's a no, right? Or sometimes we still choose the no, and then, that's okay too. We learn a lot from that. But when we start really moving from our logical place of the mind operating system into the heart space, we start saying, okay, maybe this is possible. Maybe this opportunity that I'm being guided to that keeps coming up into my awareness, that keeps making me feel so interested and so alive and also so terrified. Those are the sort of the big leaps of faith. These are the big jumps. These are the initiations of prioritizing ourself, knowing that we're worthy, that we're worth it, that our dreams are possible, and that we can take steps towards them and have these things, expand our lives and our spiritual evolution of trusting the process, trusting the divine. And in day two, we also really talked about how, even though we're talking a lot about mastering our intuition, which is typically thought of a third eye topic, right? It's like, okay, these are where the psychic senses come in. That often, when we're talking about following our dreams and following our intuition, that's leading us into more joy and more openness and healthy relationships and loving friendships and our dream house and all of these things, it tends to be actually more of a third chakra issue of confidence, of trust, a willingness to be open. Okay. So, and really have faith, that we're supported. But yesterday's topic was really about like letting go of control. And it's the mind that is trying to say, listen, this is not safe. Stepping out of our comfort zones is not safe. Let me prove to you all the times, let me remind you of all the times that we have fell on our face, that we've gotten hurt, that this is the way the world works. We start telling ourselves these stories to kind of keep us in the box. And so it's kind of natural that when we're starting to follow our dreams, that all of our, shit talking, selves are gonna have something to say, right? There's the survival mechanism, right? It's the control that wants to protect us. So it's about softening. And we talked about the 7 steps as we're moving through this initiation. We talked about the 7 steps and how to basically do that and how to stay nice and centered and grounded and the whole process of continuing to move through the fire. So that was the real topic about letting go of control. So I would really say that if there's only one that you catch, day two feels like a big one. If you go back and watch any other of these replays, I would really strongly encourage you to check out day two. Day one has all kinds of like juicy nuggets in there, but day two is sort of at the heart of I want to make a big leap. How do I do this? Okay. And if at any point you have questions, please don't hesitate to book your expansion call with me. It's free. We have 30 minutes to kind of sit down and really explore what some of the obstacles are. I'm a clear channel. I've honed all of those 5 senses. So as we're talking, I'm of course always listening to you, and I'm also listening to your spirit guides. I'm watching your soul map, so we can really light up a clear pathway for you and make sure that you have got a nice little roadmap. If you're traveling cross country, we've got a nice little roadmap of how to get there. Okay. So just know that whether you choose to work with me or not, there's still going to be a lot of insights and a lot of clarity that comes up in those expansion sessions. So do yourself a favor and set up that expansion session. I am here for it. I am here for it. This is my work in the world, is to be of service, to use my intuition to support people to keep coming home to yourself. Right? That's been my path. It's like I just keep coming home to myself and what makes me feel joy. And that is what I wish for you. That is my sacred service. That is, something that I've worked really hard to be here and to stay in my truth and in my integrity as I walk through my fire so that you can do it too. Okay. All right. So, day three, intuition makes magic. We are going to play some games. If you don't have paper, go get paper and a pen. Some of this is going to include a little bit of writing. The first exercise is probably going to be like the most amount of writing. So I'll just give you a moment to scramble and get your stuff. I'm going to take a sip of water. All right. So we're going to do 3 games today. All of the things that I'm going to teach you with intuition, always, always, always start with centering. And just briefly, the difference between centering and grounding is a subtle difference. Grounding is like really being in your body, it's really being connected to the earth. It's sort of this really awareness of the downward flow of energy. We're connected to our earth, our body, and also the planet that we're living on. It's it's also about being present. So when I'm also talking about centering, it's a subtle difference. It's almost like there's a lot happening around you. It's like the merry-go-round, but you can be that central axis. You can still be sort of present for an enormous amount of flow around you as you are still here. Sometimes we just are not at a space where grounding is might be a little hard to like be fully embodied, but we might be able to be present with the merry-go-round. Okay. One is a little bit more yang, a little bit more active, and the other is a little bit more yin. So the centering, they're both very similar. They're both very similar. Okay. So we're going to start with a centering activity just to help you get present. So get yourself comfortable wherever you are. Maybe you get on some comfy socks or, bring your little fur baby or your animal companion, with you. So take a nice big breath in and sigh it out. We're just going to do like 10 exhales, long exhales. So you're going to breathe in through the belly, in through the nose, and exhale through the mouth, through the count of 8. I want you to just imagine you're breathing into the earth, breathing into the count of 4 through the nose, little hold at the top, and exhale through the mouth, through the count of 8. Just imagine your feet are breathing and exhaling into the earth. Next big breath in, counting to the count of 4 through the nose, little hold at the top, and exhale all the way through the feet into the earth. I'll have you do 3 more of those independently, breathing in to the count of 4 through the nose, a little hold at the top, and exhale through the mouth with a big old sigh to the count of 8. Do 2 or 3 more of those at your own pace. And you can absolutely, if you want to, a little vocalization, There you go. I want you to just take a moment after you finish your this last exhale. And I want you to just take a moment and allow yourself to think of the last, let's say 48 hours backwards. You can kind of do this two ways. It's almost like I just want to give you guys a moment to sort of process what happened in the last couple of days. It's just really allowing your nighttime. This is usually what happens at night. We have to process all of this stuff. So we're just, as we're doing these big exhales and getting centered in ourselves, you can either do this two ways. You can either kind of think like, okay, like I got up yesterday morning. I did some yoga. I made a cup of tea. You can either think about it in the timeline, or you can sort of just allow yourself to have that kind of popcorn of like, oh yeah, what did happen yesterday? After I went to the mall, what happened? What did happen? There you go. Yeah, just allow yourself and your subconscious to sort of process like what just happened. We're in the middle of eclipse season right now. My guess is you're probably feeling some big feelings right now. There you go. Another big breath in and sigh it all out. Just allow yourself to just be present for whatever happened in, let's say, the last 48 hours. Just allow yourself to kind of get into that place where you just are just present with like, wow, a lot happened. Like, wow, I just was so tired. There you go. You got it. Just by really allowing ourselves a little bit of spaciousness to be present for what we experienced in the last 48 hours. Doesn't mean you have to fix it. Doesn't mean you have to go into the stories of it. It just allows your nervous system just a moment to be present instead of holding all of that. There you go. I learned this trick from a nurse who so I used to do oncology Reiki, clinical Reiki for many years. And it's a stressful work environment working with cancer patients. It's slow and controlled, but it can flip in any moment. And there's a lot of details to keep track of in that particular department. It's a very specialized form of nursing. And at the end of the day, and this was like a career nurse, she'd been nursing for like 50 years or something wild. On her commute home, she would just replay what happened, and not in a way that was like, oh, I'm so mad about this, but she just gave herself a chance to decompress. So her commute home was always a 20 or 30-minute drive where she could just allow her subconscious to just be present for what happened throughout the day. And she said she slept a lot better, that she was able to be more present when she got home. There you go. You got it. So we're just starting here after moving from these big exhales into just allowing ourselves to sort of be present with what happened over the last couple of days. And you don't have to get wrapped into the story. Beautiful. And we're just going to start there. And now I just want you to take one more big breath in and just sigh it out and see if you can feel present with, if you're sitting in a chair, see if you can feel present with your bottom on the chair. See if you can feel present with your feet on the floor or wherever your feet are. Are there any textures that your feet are feeling? Any socks or carpet? There you go. Any hardwood floor? Beautiful. Exactly. Take another big breath in. And on the exhale, see if you can really let the weight of your body really be supported by the couch or the chair or the seat that you are sitting in. See if you can let all of that tension be held. See if you can really allow yourself to be supported by the chair or the couch or even the earth underneath you. Beautiful. Yeah, we're just getting centered so that we can do these intuition meets magic games today. There you go. And because we're going to be doing, yeah, take one more big breath in and exhale. See if you can really exhale through the legs, down the feet, into the earth. And just ask your guides, ask the universe, ask the earth itself. Can you release anything I might have accumulated? There you go. That by itself is a very powerful technique, especially if you are a highly sensitive person. Just say, please release anything that I might have accumulated. You might even brush down your arms and your legs, just imagining that you're moving all that excess that you have collected accidentally, unconsciously, subconsciously. Just shake it off into the earth. Beautiful. Another big breath in. Maybe even kind of shake out your hands a little bit. Big old stretch overhead. Oh, with stretching. This is like, it's like when you're going to go play a soccer game, you do a little stretching. It's the same thing when we're going to play some intuition games. We get ourselves nice and centered. We do a little mental stretching. Okay. So if you haven't already, grab a piece of paper and a pen. And I want you to just begin by softening across your forehead. Soften across the whole front of the brain. All of these exercises must be done with a cloud-like brain, a cloud-like awareness, as opposed to what I call a pizza focus, right? That pizza slice when we're, like right here on our computers and we're like squeezing our brains and our third eye, right? It's that really intense focus. So when we're doing intuitive work, when we're moving from the heart space and we're listening to our intuitive selves, we have to have a little bit more of a cloud-like brain. So that's a diffused awareness. So soften across the front of the brain, soften across the forehead, across the eyeballs, soften across the back of the neck, the back of the brain. Just imagine them melting or diffusing or off-gassing, that release. Soften across the whole left side of the brain, across the ear, the inner ear, the left cheek, the jaw, the whole left side of the brain, the whole left side of the head. There you go. Go ahead and soften across the whole right side of the brain, the whole right side of the neck, the whole right side of the jaw, the whole right side of the cheek, right side of the temple. There you go. Soften across the bottom of the brain. Beautiful. Another big breath in and exhale. Yeah, the whole bottom half of your brain. See if you can just let it get a little melty. And it's fine if you can't visualize it. You might feel it. You might just set the intention to have that part of you relax. And go ahead and allow the whole crown, the whole top half of the brain to soften. The whole upper half of the brain. Yeah, there you go. And then go ahead and allow the very center of the brain, halfway from front to back, halfway from side to side, halfway from top to bottom. See if you can allow the very center of the brain to soften. And then the whole brain all at once. Beautiful. Take another big breath in and exhale. You might notice during the sessions that today that your pizza focus happens. You might get into squeezy brain. And I'll probably be continually reminding you to come back into the diffused awareness, this cloud-like brain. So just know that as I'm kind of moving us through, if you catch yourself getting squeezy in your brain, right, that pizza, then you can come back to softening the forehead, the right side of the brain, the left side, the back of the head, the bottom half of the brain, the top of the brain, the whole brain. What tends to happen is that the first time we do it, of the relaxation of the mind, the second time it's a little faster, the third time we slip into it a little quicker and easier each time we come back to the softening. Okay. All right, here we go. First game, take a nice big breath in, grab your pen and paper. I want you to take a moment, and this is going to be just like, bleh, just throwing it on the page. I want you to write down all of your limitations to stepping into your vision. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have the emotional space to do this. I don't know if I can. I don't know if anybody's going to buy from me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not worthy. I'm not really good enough. I haven't learned enough. Blah, just vomit all of your limitations to stepping into the vision on the page. Don't question the vision. Even if the vision changes later, don't question the vision itself. So if you're like, oh, I really want to step away from this job and do something else, maybe the vision just right now, maybe that like initiation is like stepping away from this job, right? Maybe one of those limitations is like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do for money. I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage. Who's going to put food on the table? I want you to write all of those limitations down to stepping into your vision. Yeah. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do this because I'm sure that there's more than three. And it's fine just because we're doing a brainstorming session. It's fine if it repeats two or three or even four times. Take a nice big breath in. I really want you to get in there. If you feel like you are not trustworthy, if that is the voice that's coming up, like who's going to trustworthy? Who's going to trust me? Write it down. This is part of step one, being true to yourself. Like what is honestly in the way? There you go. Beautiful. Another big breath in. We're going to do another minute or two here. Maybe you take a moment and close your eyes and just really imagine that you're living that life, like, or that you're taking steps to live that life. Like, what's coming up for you? You're going to land on your face, that people are going to talk shit about you, that people aren't going to believe you. Um, that somebody's going to spread lies about you. They're going to judge you. They're not going to want to associate with you anymore. They're going to tell you you're crazy. They're going to belittle you. That you're not going to have the resources. You're going to go homeless. That was one for me. I was always like, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills and I'm going to be homeless. Like, I don't know why my brain always went to like homelessness. It just went from like 0 to 60. Like, I have built lots of like a very solid foundation for myself because I had so much fear, right? I had so much fear of like going homeless. So I really learned, I read every business book I could, everything on financial independence and wealth. And, like I just soaked up as many podcasts as I could about, like knowing my numbers and budgeting and all this kind of stuff and created my own systems to make sure that I knew what was what, that I had resources. But still, years later, even after being able to open up my bank account at any second and saying, I'm fine. I am okay. Even in the worst case scenario, I am okay. My mind is like, homeless, go straight to homeless. So there was that, that conditioning that's like, okay, that is still circling. Okay, so I'll give you another 30 seconds. Maybe you close your eyes and just envision all of your limitations. Write down all of your limitations to stepping into your vision. There you go. And what I'm going to have you do, and it's okay if you want to add to all of that stuff later. I know this doesn't always feel like a game, but it is kind of a game. So I want you to take all of that and I want you to give it a name. Like you can be, so I'm Caroline, but the negative voice I call Carol. Or sometimes it's Claire or Susan, but it's just give it any name. It could be sandwich, could be the rock or the brick wall. It doesn't matter. But give it a name. Give it a name. Could be Harold. Because one of the things with this is it's going to help you, like as if you're identifying this voice, it's going to help you separate from the voice and these thoughts when they arise. So you can be like, Carol's at it again. Susan always has something to say about that. And in that space, I can have a little bit of I mean, truly, it's a little bit of humor in a space where I'm having some negative thought forms directed towards myself, right? My perceived limitations. It's like creating my own cage here. But when you give it a name, like I said, it's going to help you identify this voice that will help you kind of separate yourself from these thoughts. Okay, so we're going to take a nice big breath in, and I want you to either create a separate column or a separate section on the page, or maybe on a joining page. I want you to write down um, each limitation flipped on its side. So we're going to alter it just a little bit. So, for example, if you're like, I'm afraid of making no money, we can flip it to something along the lines of, I'm afraid of making more money. You can flip it any way that you want to. You can flip it into a positive statement, or you can just tweak it just enough. Like that example of like, oh, I'm scared of making no money, or I'm scared of making more money. but flip each one of those statements a little bit. And if you're having a hard time with this exercise, feel free to come off of mute or send me an email or book your expansion session with me. I'm happy to walk through this exercise. Having that like person to bounce this stuff off of can be really can bring a lot of clarity. It can kind of cut through our own messiness. Sometimes that limitation is also like, I don't know where to start. Write that down. Or I don't know how to do this. You write that down too. So if you're like, I don't know how to do this, you could flip it to say, but somebody else probably does. I don't know how to do this, and I really don't want to know how to do this. So any way that you want to flip it, we're just trying to flip all of these on their side a little bit. If you want to flip them inside out, you can absolutely do that. You can say something like, I'm afraid of making money, making no money, into money is afraid of me. Or I'm in love with making no money. Instead of I'm afraid of it. So any way that you want to flip it, we're just trying to take that and deconstruct it and twist it into into something different, a little more playful. Yeah. And if you've already gone through your list and kind of switched some of them, see if you can twist them a different way into um, maybe a slightly more positive version, or maybe a version that includes leaning on your resources, other people, on your creative talents. I don't know how to do this, but I'm good at asking for help. I don't know how to do this, and my best friend is great at it. And I'm sure they wouldn't mind having a chat. All we're trying to do here is to loosen the grip. It's to loosen the grip. There you go. And sometimes some pretty clear awarenesses come out of just flipping them a little onto their side. You got it. It's like, oh, I'm not actually afraid of no money. I'm afraid of making more money. Whoa. But that means that I'm really going to have to step into my power. Whoa. That means that I'm going to have to really stop talking shit about myself. That means I'm going to have to really stop putting myself down. And I really have to start valuing myself. So sometimes just flipping and loosening the grip can help us detach. That's our goal with all of this exercise. I promise this is the hardest exercise of the night. So if you got there, great job. Does anybody want to come off of mute and share any of their flips that are working or not working? There's no pressure, but if you are feeling like you do want to share any of the flips that kind of lit you up a little, I'd love to hear it. Okay, no takers tonight. That's all right. All right, so take a nice big breath in and exhale, and just go ahead and just take a moment and just read back almost like maybe close the page for a moment, give yourself a little stretch, just kind of like disconnect from it. Oof, oof, oof. I'm big into like after doing any kind of energy work, like stretching. I consider this energy work because we're sort of going in, flexing into the subconscious and moving some stuff, bringing some stuff up. There you go. Some of you are getting a little bit of the squeezy brain here. So take a nice big breath in, soften across the forehead. We're going into diffused focus. Soften across the right side of the brain. Soften across the back of the neck, back of the brain, back of the head, the crown, the top of the head. Soften across the left side, the left vision, the underside of the brain, the lower half of the brain, as well as the whole brain all at once. Beautiful. Yeah. As well as the very center of the brain and then the whole brain. Gorgeous. Yeah. Take another big breath in and just be present. If this exercise brought up a little anxiety for you, just take a breath and sigh it out and maybe shake it out. I'm a big fan of telling the body that I'm safe from these big, slow exhales, these big stretches, shaking it out. Like it is really important to, when you have a little stuff come up, to kind of get back in the body, right? Like dropping the shoulders, wiggling it out. Great. Maybe rolling the shoulders. Whew. And then just go ahead and read over the inverted or the flipped scripts. Some of them might be still a little self-punishing, but maybe a little less. Or maybe there's a little room to maneuver in that. We're not trying to make these necessarily our affirmations. I mean, you can if you want to, but it's just the exercise of like, bleh, like getting it on the page, seeing what's there, what's our very practical obstacles, and then seeing if we can just give a little loosening of the grip in the subconscious. That's a little game. Take a nice big breath in and exhale. Gorgeous. Right. And of course, feel free to put anything in the chat. I'm here for it. Send me an email back from the replay. I read all of my emails. Or don't forget to book your expansion call. I love knowing how you guys are moving through this process. I love supporting you as you're moving into like your integrity and moving through the fire. It's like we don't do this stuff alone. I always thought that I was like, I can do it by myself. No, ma'am, I could not do it by myself. It's leaning into our community and our network. Like, I am here for you. Okay. There's no financial obligation to setting up an expansion call just to like have a little mirror, a little reflection, a little clear vision from somebody who wants to be in service to you. Okay. It's like, can I allow somebody to be in service, right? Can I allow somebody to be in service to me who wants to help me with no strings attached? Yeah. Okay. All right. So take a nice big breath in and exhale. So we're going to shift into our second game here. We've got 3 games tonight. I think personally, the third one is the most fun, but the second one I think is going to be really nice too. So you can put down your pens and your paper. You can put all that stuff away, put up your feet, get yourself cozy. And I want this, I'm going to bring you through a little guided meditation that kind of allows you to enter almost like what feels a little bit closer to a sleep state. So it's okay if you kind of get a little dreamy vibe here. Okay, so go ahead and get yourself cozy. Maybe you grab yourself a nice blanket or lay down as long as you can hear me. Take another big breath in, sigh it out. Nice, long, slow exhales, another big belly breath in, and sigh it all out. I want you to begin to imagine that you've got your sunglasses on, you're in your beach chair, you're lounging at the ocean. It's a beautiful sunny day. There's just a few wispy clouds in the sky. You can hear the ocean, the waves moving in and out. And maybe you even see or hear a beach ball rolling around, being tossed. You can hear or feel children's laughter. Maybe you see some kids that are on their knees in the sand, building a sand castle with their little shovels and buckets. Take a nice big breath in. Then go ahead and allow yourself to just exhale. There's no pressure here. You're at the beach. Your job is just to exist, to soak up the sun. You have arrived. And out of nowhere, sort of appears this swamp, the swamp monster, sort of covered in seaweed, very, very tall and muscular, that dark, dark green. And he's not scary. He just looks a little swampy. He just came out of the depths and he hands you something sparkly. He hands you a little gift. And then he kind of, maybe you kind of wipe off the gift a little and you're like, who was that? But he's just on his way. He's just on his way up the boardwalk. Maybe he's walking to the snack shop. It doesn't matter, but he just wanted to offer you that gift. And it's almost like as he's walking away, it's almost like his Swamp Thing persona almost transitions to a man with a nice clean haircut and swim trunks, and he's carrying his surfboard. He's just walking away. But he just handed you that something sparkly. So go ahead and just maybe you feel it in your hands. Maybe you hold it up against your heart. Maybe you can see it clearly. Maybe you can feel it. Maybe you can just sense what it is. Maybe you feel the emotion of it. But go ahead and really hold it in your hands. Maybe you examine it just the same way that when a jeweler looks through the magnifying loop into a piece of jewelry to see the cut of the diamond. There you go. Go ahead and just allow yourself to really look and feel closely into this little gift as the waves come crashing in and out in the background, as the little kids who are on their knees playing in the sand are building their sand castle and digging the moats and simultaneously crushing the sand castles. They're just in play. And sometimes that one little kid to their sibling or to their friend is like, give me that. Give me that. Sometimes they get a little tussly. That's okay. They're allowed. Beautiful. Another big breath in. And maybe one of those little kids goes off crying to his mom because the older one kind of was a little harsh. Yeah. See if you can let those. Yeah, the guided meditations are not always designed to show you the sparkly realities. Sometimes they're here to offer a mirror, a challenge of what makes you uncomfortable. Beautiful, you got it. And I want you to just know that as you're on this beach, as you are soaking up the sun, I want you to step back into that place where you are really deeply allowing your bones to rest, your whole skeletal system, the skull, the vertebrae, the jaw, your ribs, your shoulders, your arms, your legs. I know your skeletons are not called arms and legs, but go with it. Go with it. Just imagine all of your whole skeleton is fully resting into that beach chair or into the sand. I want you to see if you can really allow your bones to rest. I want you to rest that deeply. Can your bones feel melty? Can your bones feel supported? Can your bones feel safe? You might notice the contrast here where you're like, no, I don't think my safety reaches that far. Beautiful. Really nice job. You got it. So just knowing that as you're kind of really allowing yourself to on this beach, you kind of decide that, like, yeah, it's about time that I start packing up my things. Maybe you have a bite of your sandwich or a little snack, sip of water. You put your feet back into the sand, into the earth, and put your sandals back on, and you kind of begin to roll up your beach towel, and you put it in your beach bag, and you fold up this very lightweight beach chair, and you begin to just move back into the timeline of you living the life that you are choosing, where you're prioritizing yourself. You're coming off of the beach into your desired timeline. So, what car are you getting back into? Or are you hopping into cute little VW bus with a surfboard on top, and you just hop in the back, and your friends drive you to where you need to go? Or maybe you just hop on the trolley, and you just get to let the wind, the salt air breeze through your hair. There you go. So I want you to feel into that desired timeline as you're coming off of the beach. What are you wearing? Do you have a beautiful sarong? You don't even bother. You just have your bikini top and your sarong and your sandals, and that's perfect. What are you eating? When you get back to your home, where are you living? What does your home feel like? This is your desired timeline. You might not get the visuals. Not everybody is a visual person. You might just get the sensation across your body that, oh, I'm with friends. Oh, I feel really good. I feel really good right now. It might just be a physical sensation as you're moving into this desired timeline. It's like, oh, I haven't felt this peaceful and relaxed in years. Who are you hanging out with? Where are you living? What types of activities are you choosing to engage in? Who are you married to? Oh my goodness. Who's your companion? Who's your lover? Yeah, just let yourself be in that desired timeline. You don't have to tell anybody if it's a little different than what you might expect. This is just play, you guys. Some of you are taking this a little too seriously, like, oh my gosh, like what if am I not gonna be with my husband? Like, don't worry about it. Just like allow yourself to step into that desired timeline. I mean, maybe you're not hanging out with the current version of your husband, but like maybe it's the youthful, happy version of him, the one that you met 15 years ago. I don't know. Just allow yourself. Some of you are taking this too seriously. Take a nice big breath in. So if there is panic or anxiety coming up, allow that worry brain to remember that first exercise. Is that Carol? Is that Susan? She's at it again. Take another big breath in. Doesn't mean we have to cast them outside, but just know that, okay, if Carol is saying some things, maybe you pour her a glass of lemonade. And if this is your desired timeline and she's coming up, maybe she is welcome here. Beautiful. Another big breath in. Yeah, maybe you make her a sandwich with some potato chips on the side. Yeah, maybe you give her compassion instead of judgment. Maybe you let her know that she's safe and that you're here to take care of her. Yeah, and maybe you just ask her to put her stuff down and take her shoes off at the door and, wipe off her sandy feet and then come in. Maybe you don't even have to worry about the sand that's getting into the apartment or into the condo because somebody comes and cleans it for you, or there's a Roomba. Maybe we don't even worry if there's a little extra sand. There you go. Another big breath in. What does it feel like to be in the desired timeline? Does it feel easy? Does it feel like you are battling? Does it feel like you are more easeful in your body? Just be present, maybe with the imagery. Maybe you look out into the window and you see that ocean, and you can, even with a storm, you can take a big breath in and you can sigh, knowing that you're safe and that you're here and you're home. Yeah, this timeline is your desired outcome. It's the desired reality where you have chosen to prioritize yourself, where you have actively invited your dreams into your choosing. There you go. You got it. These are the timeline effects of choosing your desired reality. How does it feel? What are you wearing? How are you existing? Who are you hanging out with? Maybe you go ahead and pick up the phone and you call somebody. It's like 462. Who's on speed dial? Beautiful. There you go. Yeah, as you're sitting in this desired outcome, as you're in this desired reality, take another big breath in, sigh it out. Beautiful. You got it. Give yourself one more big breath to just feel what it feels like to have continually chosen yourself and letting your imagination and your body express how it feels to be in that desired timeline. You got it. Go ahead and start to wiggle the fingers and the toes and just thank this timeline for being present with you, for knowing that you can absolutely live and feel and experience that timeline as simply as us going into that today. Moving from the beach into that desired reality, to the timeline effects of choosing that. Beautiful. Another big breath in. We just created a little pathway, a potential pathway for you to explore. And if that was mostly sensations, if that felt like sleep, good, good. Maybe you got clear imagery. Love that for you too. All right. So one more big breath in and sigh it all out. Wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, big stretch. We're going to do our final game of the evening in just a moment. You don't have to sit up for this, but if you're feeling a little sleepy and you want to, you can. All right. So, what we're going to do is we're going to play a little game now that our mind is nice and soft. We have that kind of diffused focus. We might be feeling a little vibey. The Reiki has been flowing. Okay. So what I have you do is we're going to play. This is a very practical technique. I love giving people very practical ways of navigating because um, I, I don't know, I like to empower you. I don't know. I like you to have tools. Pretty simple. So this is the vibrational decisions game. This is our third and final game of the night. So what I'm going to have you do is we're going to do three different scenarios where you have a yes or no or an A or B. So we're only going to be toggling between two choices. So it can be like a yes or a no or an A or a B. So we're going to do three different decisions where you have a present decision to make. Um, right, which is something very practical that you've been kind of maybe toggling back and forth with. Like, do I want to or do I not want to? It's like a present decision. The second one is going to be sort of an insignificant decision, right? Do I want to paint my front door pink? Yes or no? Do I want to paint my front door pink or leave it the way it is? So it's an A or B, a yes or a no. So an insignificant decision, one that doesn't have a lot of emotional impact is what I mean by insignificant. Like there's not a lot hinging on this decision, right? Like, do I want to have French fries for dinner? Yes or no? Maybe that's not a good example. You know if it has emotional impact or not. And then the third one is going to be a future I'm choosing me decision. Okay, so we're going to start with the first one where you have a present decision to make. Maybe something that you've been toggling with. Maybe it has, maybe not the most amount of weight, but some amount of heft. Where it's like enough where you're like, do I actually want to go to that wedding or not? I feel like I should, but I'm kind of feeling like, oh, it's going to be a lot of work and a lot of travel. I'm going to be spending money. Like something where you're like kind of wrangling with a decision. So take a nice big breath in and exhale. And I'm going to invite you to do this a couple of different ways. So you can either take your pen and a paper and you can either write like yes or no, or write the A decision or the B decision on the page. And almost like if you have like, I'll kind of show you. Like it's almost like if you have like on the page, I don't know if you can see this, where you're gonna just have like, okay, this would be decision A over here and decision B over here. This would be like the yes decision or the no decision, however you'd like differentiate it. So you can either kind of do it on a piece of paper where you sort of hover your hand over. If you're a little bit more of a feeler type person, maybe you kind of are like, oh, what does the A side feel like? Versus the yes answer feel like versus the no answer or the B decision. So you might be able to scan and feel what the A side of the paper feels like or the B side of the paper feels like. The other option is that you can close your eyes and you can almost imagine that there is a scale with one side of the scale that goes down that says that answer is the yes, or if it's the other side that goes down, that answer is the no. You can kind of predetermine in your mind which answer means yes and which answer means no, or which answer is the A or which answer. Beautiful. So take a nice big breath in. So we're going to get back to, so knowing that you have this current decision to make and you've differentiated between what is the A or the yes or the B or the no. So take a nice big breath in. And this is a game, guys. This is just to help you collect information. This is about a vibrational decision. So we're going to just run through the exercise first because I want you to know that I do a lot of intuitive work. I can flip into this space so quickly now. This is me 15 years as doing this work, right? So it's very, very quick for me, but I want to give you guys the full um, like awareness of how to get into this, especially if you have been going back and forth with this a little bit or your mind is a little bit overactive. So take a nice big breath in. We're a little bit more relaxed at this stage because we've been kind of moving through some Reiki and some visualizations. But take a nice big breath in and sigh it all out. Soften across the forehead. Yeah, you got it. Soften across the right side of the brain. Soften across the left side of the brain. Back of the head. The top of the head. Top of the brain. The bottom of the brain. The exact center of the brain, as well as the whole brain all at once. Take a nice big breath in. And on the exhale, see if you can drop down bring your awareness into your chest, somewhere inside the armpits, inside the rib cage, somewhere inside the shoulder blades, inside the breastbone, somewhere inside where the heart and the lungs are beating and breathing together. See if you can find that space in the heart center that feels like a warm hug or a comfortable couch or that place where you just, it just feels so yummy and loved right there. There you go. Yeah, you just landed right on it. So this is the place where we're making the vibrational decisions from. So if your mind starts acting, that's sort of when we talked about, that's like the day two stuff of like, the mind wants to be in control, the mind wants to be in charge. We're stepping out of our safety zones. So go ahead and bring your awareness back into your chest, into that warm space that feels like the hug. Beautiful. Another big breath in and sigh it out. And on one side of your mind, either on the scale, or there's an A side or a B side, or there's an A side or a B side on the paper, go ahead and ask yourself that question. Do I attend this wedding? Or do I politely decline? Yeah. You're heading right back up to the head. We're not talking about what the results mean. We're feeling into what feels lighter, what feels brighter, what feels more open versus what feels heavier or thicker or like obligation or like, ugh. So it's either going to be like, ooh, or like, ooh. Or so you might get the sensations of that. You might get the awareness. Remember, those inner senses are going to be a little different for everybody. So for you, it might just feel like, oh, that just feels like open, like a nice breeze. That is a yes. And something else that feels like a no might kind of be like, oh, it almost feels like I'm crawling into myself a little bit, that I'm almost like feeling a little protected. That would be a vibrational no. You got it. Exactly. Another big breath in. If you're watching the scale, right, and the one side comes down, boop, and says yes, that's a pretty clear answer. If your hand keeps coming back to B and you're just like, oh, I don't know why, I just keep coming back to B, that's a pretty clear answer. There you go. So go ahead and just write that present decision. That's my vibrational answer. Whether you choose to follow this or not, that's where the initiation is. That's where we make those leaps. That's where we go into am I confident enough? Do I feel safe to make this decision? So we just kind of started with a present decision, right? Has a little bit to it. Now we're going to go into a don't overthink it. Do not overthink it. If you got an unexpected answer, love it. Love it. Okay. Now we're going to go into an insignificant decision where it doesn't hold as much emotional weight, right? Like, do I want to pack my lunch for tomorrow or do I want to get takeout? Like, maybe it actually doesn't hold as much emotional weight. Either way, you're going to get some food. Do I want to get a cup of coffee before work tomorrow or do I want to skip it? This is one I play with myself all the time. I'm like, does my body want coffee today? And then some days my body is like, and then I'm like, okay, because my mind is like, I want coffee, but coffee doesn't feel really good on my body. It like sometimes makes me really jittery and anxious, even when I'm just drinking decaf, which is like 30 milligrams, right? Like sometimes it makes my body feel really crappy. But some days when I ask that question, my body's like, yeah. And then I'm like, yay. And then I will go and enjoy a nice, cup of decaf. So something that is doesn't hold a lot of emotional weight. Beautiful. And you can do the same kind of thing where you differentiate what's ahead of time, what's the yes and what's the no in your mind if you're watching the scale, or if you have the A side or the B side, the yes side or the no side on the paper, and you kind of let your hand feel which one feels heavy or which one feels light, or maybe your hand just keeps drawing over to the yes or drawing over to the no. Beautiful. I'll tell you a little secret. It's not quite so hard to get an answer when we don't have a lot of emotional weight behind it. When there's neutrality, that is a really good state to be in because it doesn't like there's no hooks. We're detached either way. Either way. Either way, we're gonna be either way our inner state is going to be what it is, with or without this. Beautiful. Another big breath in. And go ahead and just write down that answer, even if it doesn't totally make sense. And now we're going to choose one. I'll give you guys one more minute. Take a nice big breath in. Maybe you shake yourself out, kind of give yourself a little wiggle, soften the brain, kind of go through that softness, come back into the chest. See if you can find that warm place in your heart center that feels like the nice hug. And then we're going to do a third future, like the third decision is going to be the future I'm choosing me decision. It's the prioritizing myself decision, right? Sometimes it's like, do I let this job go? I like yes or no. Do I do I enter into a contract with this person? Um, yeah, exactly. It's the place where you're making a decision where you're prioritizing yourself. Do I let go of this relationship? I'm not saying you have to go into this. Don't let the mind, you might notice the patterns of the mind wanting to jump, like come from heart to head. That's where we're like learning into the space of like the day two routine of like moving from letting go of control into the heart space. This would be under the like continually checking in with ourselves. Like, where are we? Are we up here? Are we down here? Do we feel unsafe? Yeah. And just feel, does option A feel good or does option B feel good? Yeah, you kind of predetermine which is the yes or which is the option A or which is the no, because that'll help when you kind of bring the energy of that situation up, of that decision. This should happen instantly, guys. If it is taking you more than two or like really like 1 or 2 seconds, then your mind is trying to get you involved in this. This is designed to be an instant way. Yeah, exactly. This is not an overthinking exercise. If you're overthinking, the mind is trying to be involved. You got it. Another big breath in. Does it mean that you have to immediately take action on these things? No, it does not. But this is how we can start to make vibrational decisions. Like, does this actually feel like it's in my highest and best? And then you're like, wow, I can actually feel how expansive this is. Like, yes. That, remember when we went into that like timeline, into that desired reality, when we felt the effects of that timeline from the last game, coming off the beach and being like, oh, I'm choosing vibes. And then you get to watch the play of how your life felt and looked. This is the same kind of thing. It's like, okay, but this is like the pivot of choice. This is the moment of choice. Which timeline am I going to choose? But it's the place of feeling into what does this decision feel like? What does this timeline choose to feel like? What does this timeline choose that I'm choosing feel like? The secret sauce of like really opening up into joy and magic and openness and expansion is keep choosing the things that feel exciting and open and peaceful and loving. Like when you actually start making vibrational decisions like consistently, even if you are also experiencing fear and disappointment and letdown, if you keep following this pathway, wild things happen. I cannot emphasize this enough. It is perfectly fine if you feel, wow, I can feel how open and expansive that is. And also sometimes the brain goes, whoop, I am not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. That happens too. And it's okay that you can choose no, even if you feel vibrationally how powerful that is. So even though you're feeling into this technique and this game, this tool of feeling into the vibrational realities, you still have sovereignty to choose what doesn't feel as expansive. And it's like, why would I not choose what's expansive? Well, there's a lot of reasons, right? And you probably listed them on the first game, right? What are the things that Carol is saying to you? I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm so scared. Or Jess. If you feel like you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Feel free to come off of mute, email me, book your expansion session. I really do want to help you through this process. It is such a divine process as we're continuing to move into these spaces where we feel really aligned. This is where intuition meets magic. There you go. Beautiful. Really nice job, guys. I want you to be proud of yourself. Like, we just played three little intuitive games, and some of them were a little bit more, some of them were a little like heavy, and some of them were a little bit more playful. And these are just different ways of learning about ourselves, studying ourselves, being on our spiritual path. Like, this is what all this stuff is, like our inner senses, when we're talking about mastering our inner senses, it's like, wow, I can guide my own ship. I can guide my own ship. I don't have to be ruled by fear, even though I'm present with it. It is a big deal. So I want you to take a nice big breath in and sigh it out. So we're gonna just finish up with about 5 or 10 minutes of Reiki, so you can just let yourself vibe, let yourself receive. Tomorrow's day 4 is going to be a chance to ask questions, to get direct guidance. If you're like, Caroline, how do I do this? What's your intuitive insight about that? It is a open fields question day. Or if there's anything from day 1, 2, or 3 that you're feeling a little stuck on, and we'll do a slightly longer Reiki session tomorrow. So it will just really be allowing yourself to like fully rest into the vibes tomorrow. So if you're just feeling super depleted, don't miss day 4, because I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just trying to like love up on you and help you fill your cup. There you go. Another big breath in. Exhale. There you go. See if you can let yourself unplug here. You got it. Yes. Yay. Take another big breath in and sigh it all out. Exactly. That's what we're moving into, just states of deep rest. This has been a very, very powerful eclipse season. And I know I'm feeling it. I've been processing all kinds of stuff. And I'm still here to show up for you and to help you on your path. That is at the heart of what my work is to continue to teach you that yes, you can absolutely move through your fears. You can absolutely live your dream reality. Just remember, day 2 is all about those 7 steps. Very practical. As much as I love the like weird and wild world of intuition and inner knowing and all these inner senses and talking to trees and animal communication and like of all of the wild and wonderful things that I see in my heart and in my mind as I'm working with others, and all these clear knowings that come in, this is part of our spiritual path. This is part of our spiritual evolution. And most people don't make it through their initiation phase. That start and stop, start, stop. It's like we need the support to keep going. We need we need our cheerleaders. We need to ground ourselves. We need to be connected to our why. We need to have those frequent check-ins with what we're experiencing. There you go. Just because we lay out the map does not mean that it's going to come with ease. It's there's gonna be potholes in the road and big roads, big rocks that we have to drive around, and you know, there's a process to coming home to ourselves. And our ego and our mind wants to always say, I'm in charge, do it my way. And that's usually what makes it so hard. Beautiful. One more big belly breath in and sigh it all out. Beautiful. You got it. Another big belly breath in and exhale. One more big belly breath in and sigh it all out. Long exhales. Last big breath in and sigh it out. Just gonna smooth down the energy. Sigh it out. Gorgeous. Thank you so much for being here, for watching to the end. I really appreciate that you've been so willing to go on this journey with me and take all of these lessons and explorations. It's truly an honor and a privilege, and yeah, I'm so grateful that we are able to share in this together.
Thank you, Caroline. Again, it's been wonderful.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Very welcome. All right, so tune in for day 4. It's going to be really mellow. You just can really soak up the good vibes tomorrow and come in with any questions, and we can do some clarity work. Um, but yeah, same time tomorrow. All right. Bye.